If you enjoyed this audiobook, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. Sharing it with your friends and family helps spread knowledge, and when we help others grow, we grow too. Thank you so much for listening. Let's dive into the book. Chapter 1. Seeds of Change. Part 1. Why Goals Matter. Goals serve as the invisible force that transforms ordinary days into extraordinary journeys. Without clear direction, we drift through life like ships without anchors, reacting to circumstances rather than creating them. This exploration reveals how goals function as our personal compass, providing meaning, motivation, and momentum. Through real stories and proven insights, you'll discover why having clear aspirations isn't just helpful, it's essential for living a fulfilling life. The science behind goal setting shows remarkable benefits for our mental health, resilience, and overall satisfaction, making this more than just planning, it's about designing a life worth living. Think about Emma, a marketing assistant who felt stuck in her routine job. Every morning brought the same tasks, the same frustrations, and the same questions about her future. She worked hard but felt like she was running on a treadmill, expending energy without moving forward. Then Emma decided to set a clear goal: become a digital marketing specialist within 2 years. Suddenly, her perspective shifted. The same job became a training ground. Weekend courses felt purposeful rather than burdensome. Networking events transformed from awkward obligations into opportunities. This transformation happened because Emma's goal provided what researchers call cognitive coherence, a mental framework that helps us make sense of our experiences. Goals create meaning by connecting our daily actions to our larger vision. Without this connection, we experience what psychologists describe as existential drift, where life feels random and unsatisfying. Research conducted across multiple universities shows that people with clear goals report significantly higher levels of life satisfaction and emotional well-being. They sleep better, experience less anxiety, and demonstrate greater resilience when facing challenges. Why does this happen? Goals activate our brain's reward system, releasing dopamine not just when we achieve something, but when we make progress toward it. Consider how Raphael, a college student, struggled with motivation until he set a specific goal to start his own sustainable clothing business. Before this decision, studying felt like an endless series of requirements. After setting his goal, the same courses became relevant building blocks. Marketing class taught him about customer psychology. Accounting helped him understand profit margins. Environmental science connected to his passion for sustainability. What specific dream have you been postponing because it seems too big or unrealistic? Goals act as filters for decision-making. When faced with choices, people with clear objectives can quickly evaluate options based on whether they move closer to or further from their desired outcomes. This reduces decision fatigue and increases the likelihood of making choices aligned with long-term success. The psychological benefits extend beyond personal satisfaction. Goals enhance our sense of personal agency, the belief that we can influence our circumstances rather than simply react to them. This feeling of control correlates strongly with mental health and resilience. People who set and pursue goals develop what researchers call self-efficacy, confidence in their ability to achieve desired outcomes. Maya discovered this principle after years of feeling overwhelmed by her chaotic schedule. As a working mother of 2, she constantly felt behind and stressed. Setting a goal to run a half marathon gave her life structure. Training runs became non-negotiable appointments with herself. Meal planning supported her nutrition goals. Sleep became a priority for recovery. The goal didn't add stress. It organized her life around something meaningful. Goals also provide what psychologists term future focus, helping us delay gratification for long-term benefits. This skill, demonstrated in famous studies with children and marshmallows, predicts success across multiple life domains. Adults who can visualize their future selves make better decisions in the present. The emotional rewards of goal pursuit often exceed the satisfaction of achievement itself. Progress creates positive emotions that fuel continued effort. Small wins build momentum and confidence. Even setbacks become learning opportunities rather than failures when viewed through the lens of long-term objectives. How might your daily routine change if you had one clear, exciting goal guiding your decisions? Research reveals that goal setting activates the reticular activating system, a network in our brain that filters information based on what we consider important. When Carlos decided to learn photography, he suddenly noticed camera shops, photography exhibitions, and online tutorials everywhere. These resources existed before, but his goal made them visible and relevant. The social benefits of goals deserve attention too. Sharing objectives with others creates accountability and support networks. People naturally want to help others achieve meaningful goals, leading to new relationships and opportunities. Goals become conversation starters and connection points with like-minded individuals. Furthermore, goals provide resilience during difficult periods. When Lisa lost her job unexpectedly, her goal of becoming a freelance graphic designer gave her direction during uncertainty. Instead of feeling defeated, she viewed the situation as an opportunity to accelerate her timeline. The goal provided stability when external circumstances felt chaotic. The compound effect of goal setting extends throughout life. Early achievements build confidence for tackling bigger challenges. Skills developed while pursuing one objective often transfer to others. The habit of setting and achieving goals becomes a meta skill that enhances performance across all areas of life. Modern neuroscience confirms what successful people have long understood. Goals literally reshape our brains. Regular goal setting and achievement strengthen neural pathways associated with planning, persistence, and problem solving. This creates a positive cycle where success becomes more likely with each attempt. Without goals, we operate in reactive mode, responding to immediate pressures and external demands. With clear objectives, we shift to proactive mode, making intentional choices that align with our values and aspirations. This difference determines whether we shape our lives or let them be shaped by circumstances beyond our control. Part 2. The power of small beginnings. The journey from dreaming to achieving seems impossibly long when we stare at the mountain peak ahead. Yet the most remarkable transformations in human history began not with grand gestures, but with someone taking the smallest possible step forward. This section reveals how microscopic actions compound into monumental changes, teaching you to harness the hidden power of beginnings that appear insignificant. You will discover why starting small actually accelerates your progress, learn to recognize the early signals of transformation, and develop the patience to trust a process that works even when results remain invisible. These insights will change how you approach every goal, making the impossible feel inevitable. The human brain craves dramatic breakthroughs, but nature operates differently. Consider how water shapes the Grand Canyon. Each drop seems powerless against solid rock, yet millions of these tiny actions created one of Earth's most spectacular formations. This same principle drives personal transformation, though we often miss it because small changes feel insignificant in the moment. Emma worked as an accountant who dreamed of becoming a novelist. For years, she waited for the perfect moment to start writing her book. She imagined needing weeks of uninterrupted time, a beautiful writing space, and complete clarity about her story. Meanwhile, months passed without a single word written. Everything changed when she decided to write just one sentence each morning before checking her email. That first sentence felt almost ridiculous. How could one sentence matter when she needed to write an entire novel? But Emma had discovered something powerful. Action creates momentum, not the other way around. The second morning, her one sentence became two. Within a week, she was writing full paragraphs. 6 months later, she completed her first draft. What made Emma's approach work? She removed the barrier of perfectionism that had paralyzed her for years. When the commitment feels manageable, resistance disappears. Our brains are wired to resist dramatic changes because they signal danger. Small steps bypass this protective mechanism entirely. Think about your own goals right now. What small action could you take today that would move you one tiny step closer to your dream? The compound effect explains why small beginnings create big results. Just as money grows through compound interest, small actions compound into significant achievements. However, this process requires patience because the early stages show minimal visible progress. Marcus, a software developer, wanted to learn Spanish to communicate with his girlfriend's family. Traditional language courses felt overwhelming with his busy schedule. so he committed to learning just 5 new words each day using a phone app during his coffee break. After 1 month, Marcus knew 150 Spanish words but still felt like a beginner. His girlfriend's family spoke rapidly, and he understood very little during conversations. Many people would have quit at this stage, convinced the method wasn't working. Marcus continued anyway, trusting the process rather than judging immediate results. By month 6, something remarkable happened. Marcus began recognizing patterns in conversations. Those 900 words had created a foundation that allowed him to understand context and meaning. By year's end, he was having basic conversations with his girlfriend's parents. The same 5-minute daily habit that felt insignificant had transformed his relationships and opened new cultural experiences. The key insight here involves understanding lag time. Results often appear weeks or months after consistent effort begins. This delay causes most people to abandon their efforts just before breakthrough moments arrive. Small beginnings work because they establish systems rather than pursuing outcomes. When Emma focused on writing 1 sentence daily, she wasn't just creating content. She was becoming someone who writes consistently. This identity shift proved more valuable than any single writing session could provide. Consider 2 people trying to get fit. Person A sets a goal to exercise for 2 hours every Saturday. Person B commits to doing 10 push-ups every morning. Person A might achieve more in individual sessions, but Person B is building an exercise identity. When life gets busy, Person A skips entire weeks. Person B maintains momentum because 10 push-ups take less than 2 minutes. The compound effect of identity change accelerates over time. Someone who sees themselves as a writer finds ideas everywhere. Someone who identifies as an athlete makes healthier food choices automatically. These secondary benefits multiply the impact of the original small action. What identity are you building through your daily actions? Celebrating small wins amplifies the power of tiny steps. Each time we acknowledge progress, our brains release dopamine, reinforcing the behavior and making repetition more likely. This creates an upward spiral where small actions become easier and more automatic over time. Lisa wanted to pay off her credit card debt but felt overwhelmed by the total amount. Instead of focusing on the full balance, she celebrated every $100 reduction. She treated herself to a favorite tea when she paid off her first $100. This celebration cost $3, but provided motivation worth far more. Each small victory built confidence and momentum for the next payment. The celebration doesn't need to be expensive or elaborate. Recognition itself provides the psychological reward. Some people mark progress on calendars, others share updates with supportive friends. The method matters less than consistency in acknowledging forward movement. Small beginnings also build resilience through what researchers call failure immunity. When your daily commitment involves just 5 minutes of meditation, missing 1 day doesn't derail the entire effort. Compare this to someone who commits to meditating for an hour daily. A single missed session feels like failure and often leads to complete abandonment of the practice. This resilience becomes crucial during challenging periods. Life always presents obstacles, but people with small, consistent habits navigate difficulties more successfully. They maintain forward momentum even when major efforts become impossible. The most successful people understand that consistency beats intensity over time. A small action performed daily for a year creates more transformation than sporadic bursts of massive effort. This principle applies whether your goal involves fitness, learning, relationships, or career advancement. Start where you are, with what you have, doing what you can. Your future self will thank you for taking that first small step today. Part 3. Finding your true north. This section helps you discover what truly drives you by exploring the connection between your deepest values and your biggest dreams. Many people chase goals that look impressive but feel empty because they never took time to understand what actually matters to them. Through real stories and simple exercises, you will learn how to identify your authentic desires and create goals that energize rather than drain you. The journey involves looking beyond external expectations to find your inner compass, ensuring every step you take moves you toward a life that feels genuinely fulfilling and purposeful. Elena thought she had everything figured out. As a successful marketing manager, she earned a six-figure salary, lived in a downtown apartment, and received constant praise from colleagues. Yet every Monday morning felt like punishment. She would sit in her car before work, dreading another week of campaigns for products she did not believe in. Despite checking all the boxes society deemed important, Elena felt completely lost. This disconnect happens when we pursue goals that do not match our true values. Elena's story changed when she started asking herself different questions. Instead of, "What should I want?" she began wondering, "What makes me feel alive?" Through honest self-reflection, she discovered her passion for environmental conservation had been buried under years of chasing conventional success. Think about your own life for a moment. What activities make you lose track of time? When do you feel most energized and authentic? These feelings often point toward your true north. Marcus experienced a similar awakening after his father's sudden death. He had been climbing the corporate ladder as an accountant, believing financial security was his primary goal. The loss forced him to examine what really mattered. He realized his happiest moments involved teaching his nephew math problems and helping friends understand their taxes. Within 2 years, Marcus transitioned to teaching, taking a significant pay cut but gaining immeasurable satisfaction. Your true north represents the intersection of your values, strengths, and passions. Values are your fundamental beliefs about what matters most. They serve as internal guidelines for decision-making. Strengths are your natural talents and developed skills. Passions are activities that energize and engage you deeply. To identify your values, consider moments when you felt proud of your actions. What principles guided those decisions? Rachel, a nurse, realized her core values were compassion, justice, and learning after reflecting on her most meaningful experiences. These values later guided her decision to specialize in pediatric care and pursue additional certifications. Many people struggle with this process because they confuse values with goals imposed by others. Your parents might value financial security while you value creative expression. Neither is wrong, but pursuing goals aligned with someone else's values creates internal conflict. What would you pursue if money were not a concern and failure was impossible? This question often reveals authentic desires hidden beneath practical considerations. David discovered his true calling through this exercise. As a software engineer, he earned well but felt uninspired. When he imagined unlimited resources, he pictured himself traveling and documenting stories of resilience in different cultures. This vision seemed impractical until he started small, writing about his community during weekends. 3 years later, his blog became a book, and he now travels as a freelance journalist. The process requires patience and honesty. Start by documenting what energizes versus drains you. Notice patterns over several weeks. Tom, a sales manager, realized he felt most alive during team training sessions, but exhausted after client meetings. This insight led him to transition into corporate training, where his natural teaching abilities flourished. Your authentic goals often emerge from problems you naturally want to solve. Lisa noticed she always helped friends organize their spaces and felt genuine joy seeing their relief. This pattern revealed her calling as a professional organizer, combining her values of helping others with her natural organizing talents. Sometimes your true north emerges through what angers or frustrates you. Maya felt outraged by the lack of financial literacy in her community. This emotion pointed toward her purpose of teaching personal finance to young adults. Her anger became fuel for meaningful action. The key is distinguishing between genuine interests and fleeting attractions. Authentic passions persist even when difficult. They pull you forward during challenging times rather than requiring constant motivation. When Kevin discovered his love for sustainable farming, he willingly spent weekends learning about soil composition and crop rotation. The effort felt natural, not forced. Your true north also considers your natural energy patterns and preferences. Some people thrive in collaborative environments, while others do their best work independently. Sarah realized she functioned best with flexible schedules and minimal meetings, leading her to freelance writing rather than traditional employment. Remember that your true north can evolve as you grow and change. The values that drive you at 25 might shift by 45. Regular self-reflection ensures your goals remain aligned with your current authentic self rather than who you used to be. How often do you check whether your current goals still reflect who you are becoming? The most fulfilling goals integrate multiple aspects of your authentic self. They honor your values, utilize your strengths, and pursue your genuine interests while contributing something meaningful to others. This integration creates goals worth pursuing through inevitable challenges because they connect to something deeper than external validation. Part 4. The stories we tell ourselves. Your mind creates the stories that shape your reality. The voice inside your head constantly narrates your experiences, interpreting events, predicting outcomes, and defining what's possible for you. These internal stories determine whether you approach new challenges with confidence or retreat in fear. When you understand how to recognize and reshape these narratives, you transform your relationship with goals from one of limitation to one of possibility. The stories you tell yourself become the foundation for every dream you pursue. Lisa stared at the job posting for a marketing director position. The role matched her experience perfectly, but instead of excitement, she felt a familiar weight in her chest. Her inner voice began its usual script. "You're not qualified enough. Remember how you stumbled during that presentation last year? Companies want someone with more leadership experience." She closed her laptop without applying. The same position caught David's attention. He also lacked some of the preferred qualifications, but his internal narrative took a different path. "This looks challenging and exciting. I may not have every qualification, but I've grown so much in the past year. Even if I don't get it, the interview practice will help me." He spent an hour crafting his application. Both Lisa and David faced identical external circumstances, but their internal stories created completely different realities. Lisa's narrative focused on past failures and imagined rejection. David's story emphasized growth and opportunity. These mental scripts didn't just influence their immediate actions, they shaped their entire career trajectories. Your internal narrator developed over years of experiences, observations, and feedback from others. Some stories serve you well, building confidence and motivation. Others create invisible barriers that prevent you from pursuing meaningful goals. The challenging truth is that many of these limiting narratives feel absolutely true because they're based on real experiences. Consider Marcus, who struggled with math in elementary school. His teacher's frustrated comments and his parents' disappointed sighs created a story. "I'm not good with numbers." This narrative followed him through high school, college, and into his career as a graphic designer. When his boss suggested he learn data analysis to advance his career, Marcus immediately declined. "I'm just not a numbers person," he explained. The story felt factual to Marcus, but it was actually a decades-old interpretation of childhood experiences. His elementary school struggles had more to do with learning style than ability. By accepting this narrative as truth, Marcus closed doors to opportunities that could have transformed his career. What stories do you tell yourself about your capabilities, your past, or your future? These narratives operate like invisible filters, highlighting evidence that supports them while dismissing information that contradicts them. The good news is that you can rewrite these stories. Your brain remains capable of forming new neural pathways throughout your life. Each time you choose a different thought pattern, you literally reshape your brain structure. This process requires awareness, practice, and patience, but it's entirely possible. The first step involves catching yourself in the act of storytelling. Pay attention to the voice in your head, especially when you're considering new challenges or reflecting on past experiences. Notice the specific words you use. Do you say, "I always mess up presentations," or "I'm learning to improve my presentation skills"? The difference between these statements is profound. Rachel discovered the power of language when she started a fitness routine. Her original story was harsh. "I'm lazy and undisciplined. I'll probably quit like I always do." After 2 missed workouts, this narrative nearly derailed her entire effort. Instead of accepting defeat, she experimented with different self-talk. "I'm building new habits, and that takes time. Missing a workout doesn't erase my progress." This simple reframe changed everything. Instead of viewing missed workouts as evidence of failure, Rachel saw them as normal parts of building a new routine. She completed her fitness goal and discovered that the skills she developed, patience, self-compassion, and persistence, improved other areas of her life too. Effective story rewriting doesn't require you to become unrealistically positive. It simply means choosing more accurate and helpful narratives. Instead of "I never finish what I start," try "I'm learning to choose projects that align with my values and commit to them fully." Instead of "I'm terrible at public speaking," consider "I'm developing my communication skills through practice and feedback." The process works because your brain seeks consistency. When you consistently choose empowering narratives, your brain starts looking for evidence to support them. You begin noticing your improvements, celebrating small wins, and approaching challenges with curiosity rather than fear. Past experiences often fuel limiting stories, but these experiences can be reinterpreted through new lenses. Emma's story about failure changed her entire approach to entrepreneurship. After her first business failed, she initially told herself, "I'm not cut out for this. I wasted 2 years and lost money. I should stick to safe employment." This narrative kept her in an unfulfilling job for 3 years. Eventually, she began questioning this story. What if the business failure wasn't evidence of incompetence, but rather valuable education? She started viewing those 2 years as an expensive MBA in entrepreneurship. The financial loss became tuition for lessons about market research, customer service, and financial management. With this new narrative, Emma launched her second business. This time, she applied everything she'd learned from her first attempt. The business succeeded, and Emma realized that her failure had actually been preparation for success. The same experience that once limited her had become the foundation for her achievement. How might your past setbacks actually be preparing you for future success? This question can transform your relationship with difficulties and mistakes. Building empowering stories requires ongoing practice. Start each day by choosing one positive narrative about yourself or your goals. Maybe it's, "I'm someone who keeps commitments to myself," or "I'm learning something valuable from every experience." Repeat this chosen story throughout the day, especially when facing challenges. Keep a record of evidence that supports your new narratives. When you demonstrate persistence, make note of it. When you learn from a mistake, celebrate that growth. Your brain needs concrete evidence to accept new stories as truth. The stories you tell yourself about your goals matter just as much as the goals themselves. Transform "I hope I can do this" into "I'm committed to figuring out how to do this." Change "I'm not ready yet" to "I'm preparing myself as I go." These shifts in language create shifts in belief, which create shifts in action. Your internal narrator will always be with you, but you can train it to become your greatest ally rather than your harshest critic. The stories you choose today become the reality you experience tomorrow. Chapter 2. Mapping Your Journey. Part 1. Dream big, start small. Understanding the transformative power of starting small while holding on to grand visions represents one of the most practical approaches to achievement. Many people struggle with this balance, either setting impossibly large goals that feel overwhelming or thinking too small and limiting their potential. This section reveals how the most successful individuals combine ambitious thinking with modest beginnings, creating a sustainable path toward remarkable outcomes. Through proven strategies and real-world examples, you'll learn to build momentum through manageable actions while keeping your biggest dreams alive and achievable. Elena stared at her notebook, filled with ambitious dreams she'd written down during a particularly inspiring weekend. She wanted to start her own design business, learn 3 languages, run a marathon, and write a novel. 6 months later, the notebook gathered dust on her shelf, and she felt defeated by her own ambitions. What Elena didn't understand was the critical difference between dreaming and planning. Big dreams provide direction and motivation, but they become paralyzing when we try to tackle them all at once. The solution lies in thinking big while starting small. Consider how Amazon began. Jeff Bezos didn't start by trying to become everything to everyone. He began with books, focusing on that single category until he mastered it. Only then did he expand to other products. This approach allowed him to build systems, learn from mistakes, and grow strategically. The same principle applies to personal goals. When Marcus wanted to get fit after years of inactivity, he didn't immediately sign up for a gym and commit to daily 2-hour workouts. Instead, he started with 5 push-ups each morning. This tiny action felt manageable, even ridiculous, but it established a habit that he could build upon. Research shows that our brains are wired to seek immediate rewards and avoid perceived threats. Large goals often trigger our threat response because they seem impossible. Small actions, however, bypass this mental resistance and create positive momentum. Think about your biggest dream right now. How does it make you feel? Excited? Overwhelmed? Both responses are normal, but the key is channeling that excitement into daily action. The most effective approach involves what scientists call scaffolding. Just as construction workers use scaffolding to build tall structures safely, we can use small actions to build toward big dreams. Each small step provides support for the next, creating a stable foundation for growth. Rosa wanted to become a professional photographer, but felt intimidated by the competitive industry. Instead of immediately quitting her job and investing in expensive equipment, she committed to taking 1 photo every day with her phone. She shared these photos online and gradually built a following. After 6 months, she had developed her eye, learned about composition, and gained confidence. Only then did she invest in professional equipment and start accepting clients. This approach works because it addresses the psychological barriers that stop most people. When we start small, we reduce the fear of failure and increase our sense of capability. Each small win builds confidence and momentum. How can you apply this to your current situation? Start by identifying one dream that excites you. Write it down in clear, specific terms. Then ask yourself what the smallest possible first step would be. Make it so small that it feels almost silly not to do it. The beauty of starting small lies in its compound effect. Just as money grows through compound interest, small daily actions compound into significant results over time. A person who writes just 200 words per day will complete a book in less than 2 years. Someone who saves $5 daily will have nearly $2,000 by year's end. Kevin discovered this when he decided to learn Spanish. Initially, he planned to study for 2 hours every evening. After 3 days, he quit because it felt overwhelming. Later, he tried a different approach, committing to just 5 minutes of practice daily using a phone app. That 5 minutes grew naturally to 10, then 15 as his confidence increased. Within a year, he was conversational in Spanish. The key insight here is that starting small doesn't mean thinking small. Kevin's ultimate goal remained the same: fluency in Spanish. But his approach became sustainable because it honored his current reality while moving him toward his bigger vision. This strategy also helps overcome perfectionism, which often prevents people from starting at all. When Lily wanted to start a blog about healthy cooking, she spent months planning the perfect website design, logo, and content strategy. Meanwhile, her friend Tom simply began posting healthy recipes on social media with his phone camera. 6 months later, Tom had built an engaged audience while Lily was still planning. What's holding you back from starting today? Often, it's the gap between where we are and where we want to be that feels insurmountable. Starting small bridges that gap by making progress visible and tangible. The most successful people understand that momentum beats motivation. While motivation comes and goes, momentum builds on itself. Each small action makes the next one easier, creating a positive cycle that carries you forward even when motivation wanes. Consider implementing this 3-step framework. First, clarify your big dream and write it down. Second, identify the smallest possible action you could take today. Third, commit to that action for just 1 week. After 7 days, evaluate your progress and decide whether to maintain, adjust, or expand your daily action. Remember that starting small is not about limiting yourself. It's about being strategic with your energy and attention. Every expert was once a beginner, and every journey begins with a single step. Part 2. Turning wishes into plans. Making plans from dreams seems impossible when you stare at a blank page. Most people have wishes floating in their minds like clouds, but these vague desires rarely become reality without structure. The magic happens when you transform these floating thoughts into concrete plans with clear steps and deadlines. This process requires specific techniques that turn abstract hopes into actionable roadmaps. When you learn to create solid plans, your dreams stop being just thoughts and start becoming your future reality. Emma always talked about opening a coffee shop. For 3 years, she mentioned it at dinner parties and family gatherings. Her friends would nod politely, but nothing ever happened. Emma's dream remained stuck in her head because she never moved beyond wishing. One day, her sister asked a simple question that changed everything. What exactly would your coffee shop look like, and what would you need to do first? That question forced Emma to think differently. Instead of saying, "I want to open a coffee shop," she started asking herself specific questions. Where would it be located? How much money would she need? What permits were required? What would make her shop different from others? These questions transformed her vague wish into something she could actually work on. This transformation from wish to plan happens through a process called goal clarification. Your brain needs specific information to create action steps. When you say, "I want to be healthier," your mind has no clear direction. When you say, "I want to walk 30 minutes every day for the next month," your brain knows exactly what to do. The SMART framework provides a simple way to clarify any goal. SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Instead of technical jargon, think of it as asking 5 basic questions about your goal. First, make it specific. Replace "I want to save money" with "I want to save $2,000. Replace "I want to learn guitar" with "I want to play 3 songs on guitar." The more specific your goal, the clearer your path becomes. Second, make it measurable. How will you know when you succeed? Emma decided she needed $15,000 to start her coffee shop. This number gave her something concrete to work toward and track. Third, ensure it's achievable. Dreams should stretch you, but plans need to be realistic given your current situation. Emma realized opening a full restaurant was too big for her first step, but a small coffee cart might work. Fourth, check that it's relevant to your life. Does this goal matter to you right now? Will achieving it move you closer to the life you want? Emma confirmed that running a business aligned with her desire for independence and creativity. Finally, set a deadline. Without time limits, plans drift indefinitely. Emma decided to save $15,000 within 18 months, giving her a clear target date. What goal have you been thinking about that could benefit from this clarity process? Once Emma applied this framework, her coffee shop dream became a real plan. She broke down the $15,000 into monthly savings targets. She researched permits and regulations. She visited successful coffee shops to learn from their owners. Her floating dream now had structure and direction. Creating milestones makes large goals less overwhelming. Think of milestones as checkpoints on a long journey. They show you're making progress and provide opportunities to celebrate small wins. Emma set milestones at $3,000, $7,500, and $12,000 saved. Each milestone felt like a victory that motivated her to continue. Marcus wanted to run a marathon but had never run more than a mile. His initial plan was simple: start running every day until I can run 26.2 miles. This approach failed within 2 weeks because it lacked structure and realistic progression. Marcus redesigned his approach using milestones. Month 1, run 1 mile 3 times per week. Month 2, increase to 2 miles 3 times per week. Month 3, add a 4th running day. By breaking the enormous goal into monthly targets, Marcus created a path he could actually follow. Planning also requires thinking about obstacles before they appear. Emma knew she might face unexpected expenses that could derail her savings. She planned for this by creating a small emergency buffer and identifying ways to earn extra income if needed. Marcus anticipated that bad weather might interrupt his training, so he researched indoor running options and backup exercises. This obstacle planning, called implementation intentions, dramatically improves success rates. Instead of hoping problems won't arise, you prepare for them in advance. The format is simple. If X happens, then I will do Y. Emma's plan included: if I have an unexpected expense over $200, then I will pick up extra freelance work that month. Regular review sessions keep plans alive and relevant. Life changes constantly, and rigid plans often break under pressure. Emma reviewed her progress monthly, adjusting her savings targets when she got a small raise and when her car needed expensive repairs. This flexibility kept her plan realistic and achievable. Many people create detailed plans but never look at them again. They write everything down, feel accomplished, then forget about their roadmap entirely. Successful planners build review sessions into their routine. Emma checked her progress every Sunday evening, spending just 15 minutes reviewing what worked, what didn't, and what needed adjustment for the coming week. How often do you review your goals and plans after setting them? The difference between wishes and plans shows up in daily behavior. Wishes live in your head and appear during conversations. Plans live in your calendar and show up in your actions. Emma's coffee shop wish became real when she started taking concrete steps. Researching locations on Tuesday evenings, visiting suppliers on Saturday mornings, and saving specific amounts each paycheck. Plans also create accountability. When you write down specific actions with deadlines, you can measure whether you're following through. This accountability doesn't require other people, though sharing your plan with trusted friends can help. Emma told her sister about her monthly milestones, creating gentle pressure to stay on track. The planning process reveals whether you truly want something or just like the idea of it. Some dreams fade when you start creating realistic plans, and that's perfectly fine. Emma's friend Jake thought he wanted to open a restaurant until he researched the reality of restaurant ownership. The long hours, thin profit margins, and high stress didn't align with his actual values. This discovery saved Jake years of pursuing something that wouldn't make him happy. Planning transforms your relationship with time. Instead of hoping someday your dreams will happen, you start using time intentionally to make them real. Emma's 18-month timeline created urgency and structure. Every month that passed brought her closer to her goal instead of feeling like lost time. Your plans become the bridge between your current reality and your desired future. Without this bridge, dreams remain on the other side of an impossible gap. With solid planning, you create a path you can actually walk, step by step, milestone by milestone, until your dreams become your reality. Part 3. Feeling your way forward. Your emotions hold powerful wisdom that most goal-setting methods completely ignore. While traditional approaches focus on metrics and timelines, they miss a crucial element: how you want to feel during your journey toward success. This emotional compass can transform not just what you achieve, but how fulfilling and sustainable your progress becomes. When you align your goals with your desired feelings, you create a natural motivation system that keeps you engaged even when the path gets difficult. This approach changes everything about how you pursue your dreams. Building on your solid plans, the next step involves checking in with your emotional truth. Plans provide structure, but feelings provide fuel. Without this emotional alignment, even the best-laid plans can feel empty or draining. Consider Rachel, a marketing manager who spent months planning her transition to freelance consulting. Her timeline was perfect, her savings adequate, and her client pipeline promising. Yet every time she looked at her detailed plan, she felt anxious instead of excited. Something was missing from her approach. Rachel realized she had focused entirely on the what and when, but never considered the how she wanted to feel. She wanted freedom, creativity, and meaningful work that energized rather than exhausted her. When she adjusted her plan to prioritize projects that sparked joy and curiosity, her motivation transformed completely. How do you currently feel when you think about your biggest goals? Notice whether those feelings energize or drain you. Emotions serve as an internal guidance system, much like a compass points north. When you feel excited, curious, or peaceful about a goal, these emotions signal alignment between your actions and deeper values. When you feel anxious, resentful, or empty, your emotional compass warns you that something needs adjustment. Tom wanted to run a marathon because he thought it would make him disciplined and impressive. Following a rigorous training plan, he checked every box but dreaded each run. His emotional compass was screaming that this goal didn't match his authentic desires. When he switched to hiking, which made him feel connected to nature and genuinely happy, his consistency improved dramatically. The key insight here is that sustainable motivation comes from internal alignment, not external pressure. Goals that conflict with how you want to feel become sources of stress rather than satisfaction. Different people are motivated by different emotional experiences. Some thrive on the excitement of challenges and competition. Others find motivation in calm progress and steady growth. Maya discovered she achieved more when her goals felt peaceful and manageable, rather than intense and urgent. This realization helped her structure her photography business launch around gentle, consistent action instead of aggressive hustle. Your emotional preferences aren't weaknesses to overcome, but strengths to leverage. Understanding what feelings motivate you personally allows you to design goals and approaches that work with your nature instead of against it. What emotions do you associate with your best work and happiest memories? These feeling states offer clues about how to structure your current goals. Joy acts as a particularly powerful motivator because it creates positive associations with your efforts. When Lisa wanted to learn Spanish, she initially forced herself through boring grammar apps. Progress was slow and painful. She then switched to watching Spanish cooking shows, something that brought her genuine joy. Her language skills improved faster because joy made the learning process feel effortless rather than forced. Curiosity functions similarly as an emotional driver. Instead of viewing goals as obligations, you can frame them as experiments or explorations. This shift transforms pressure into interest and makes setbacks feel like learning opportunities rather than failures. Meaning provides the deepest emotional fuel for long-term effort. Goals connected to your values and sense of purpose naturally sustain motivation even through difficult periods. Kevin struggled to save money until he connected his savings goal to his deeper desire to provide security for his family. This emotional connection made budgeting feel meaningful rather than restrictive. Creating emotional alignment requires regular check-ins with yourself. Before major decisions or when motivation wanes, pause and ask how different options make you feel. This simple practice helps you course correct before investing time and energy in directions that don't serve you. Remember that feelings can change, and that's perfectly normal. What excited you 6 months ago might feel stale now. Regular emotional inventory allows you to adjust your goals and methods to maintain that crucial sense of alignment and motivation. Your emotional compass works best when you trust it completely, using both logical planning and feeling-based guidance to create a journey that's both effective and fulfilling. Part 4. Drawing your roadmap. Your emotional compass has guided you to goals that feel right. Now it's time to transform those feelings and aspirations into something you can see, touch, and follow every day. Creating a visual roadmap for your dreams turns abstract wishes into concrete plans that motivate and guide you. When you can see your path clearly, every step becomes more intentional and every milestone more meaningful. Think of planning like building a house. You wouldn't start construction without blueprints, yet many people chase their biggest dreams without a clear visual guide. Elena, a freelance graphic designer, spent 2 years feeling stuck in her career until she created what she called her dream map. She drew her current situation on the left side of a large poster board and her ideal life on the right. Between them, she mapped every step needed to bridge the gap. Within 18 months, she had launched her own design studio. The power of visual planning lies in how our brains process information. When you see your goals laid out visually, your mind can better understand connections, identify gaps, and maintain focus. A study of Harvard MBA students found that those who wrote down their goals earned 10 times more than their classmates who didn't. Visual representations take this concept even further by engaging multiple senses and memory systems. Mind mapping offers one of the most effective ways to visualize your journey. Start with your main goal in the center of a page, then branch out with all the components needed to achieve it. Marcus, a restaurant manager dreaming of opening his own place, created a mind map with My Restaurant at the center. His branches included financing, location, staff, menu development, and marketing. Each branch then split into smaller actions like research food costs or visit potential locations. What surprises you most when you see all the components of your goal laid out visually? This moment of clarity often reveals both the complexity and the achievability of what seemed impossible before. Vision boards provide another powerful tool for keeping your destination visible. Unlike simple goal lists, vision boards combine images, words, and colors that represent not just what you want to achieve, but how you want to feel while achieving it. Rosa, an accountant who wanted to transition into teaching, filled her vision board with images of classrooms, happy students, and words like inspire and grow. She placed it where she'd see it every morning, and these daily visual reminders kept her motivated through 2 years of evening classes and student teaching. Creating effective vision boards requires more than cutting pictures from magazines. Choose images that evoke strong emotional responses. Include representations of the process, not just the outcome. If your goal is running a marathon, include images of training shoes, running trails, and the satisfaction of crossing finish lines at smaller races. Storyboarding takes visual planning one step further by showing your journey as a sequence of scenes. This technique, borrowed from filmmakers, helps you anticipate challenges and celebrate milestones. Draw or describe your journey in panels, like a comic strip. Panel 1 might show where you are now, Panel 2 your first major milestone, and so on until you reach your final goal. Digital tools can enhance your visual planning without losing the personal touch. Apps like Trello or Notion allow you to create dynamic roadmaps that you can update and reorganize as needed. However, research suggests that handwritten and hand-drawn plans often create stronger neural pathways and emotional connections than digital versions. The key to successful visual planning lies in making your roadmap both inspiring and practical. Include deadlines, but also build in flexibility. Show the big picture, but break it down into weekly or monthly actions. Kevin, a sales representative working toward becoming a real estate agent, created a timeline that showed his licensing classes, networking, events, and financial milestones across 12 months. When market conditions changed, he easily adjusted his timeline without losing sight of his goal. Regular review and updating keep your visual roadmap alive and relevant. Schedule monthly check-ins to assess progress, celebrate achievements, and adjust plans based on new information or changing circumstances. Your roadmap should evolve as you do, serving as both a record of how far you've come and a guide for where you're going next. How might your daily decisions change if your goals were visible reminders rather than distant thoughts? This shift from internal motivation to external visual cues creates consistent accountability and maintains momentum even when enthusiasm wanes. Visual roadmaps work because they transform abstract concepts into concrete reality. When you can see your path, touch your plans, and track your progress visually, achieving big dreams through small steps becomes not just possible, but inevitable. Chapter 3: The Art of Moving Forward. Part 1: Habits that Build Dreams. Daily habits shape our future more than we realize. This section explores how small, consistent actions become the foundation for achieving meaningful goals. Through real-world examples and proven techniques, you'll discover how to build routines that automatically move you toward your dreams. Learn to overcome resistance, maintain momentum during tough days, and design habits that compound into extraordinary results. The science behind habit formation reveals why tiny changes create massive transformations over time. Dreams don't happen overnight. They emerge gradually through the accumulation of daily choices and actions. When Rosa started her fitness journey at 45, she felt overwhelmed by the goal of running a marathon. Instead of attempting dramatic changes, she committed to walking for just 10 minutes each morning. This simple habit seemed almost insignificant at first. 6 months later, Rosa's 10-minute walks had naturally expanded. She began adding jogging intervals, then short runs. The habit had created momentum that carried her forward without constant willpower. 2 years after her first tentative steps, Rosa crossed the finish line of her first marathon. Her transformation didn't happen through one heroic effort, but through consistent daily actions that compounded over time. This illustrates the fundamental principle of habit-driven success. Small actions, repeated consistently, create powerful compound effects. Just as money grows through compound interest, habits build upon themselves to generate extraordinary outcomes. The key lies in understanding how to design and maintain these success-building routines. Successful habit formation follows a predictable pattern. Every habit operates through a loop consisting of a cue, routine, and reward. The cue triggers the behavior, the routine is the action itself, and the reward reinforces the habit. Marcus, a struggling writer, used this framework to establish a daily writing practice. Marcus identified his cue as his morning coffee. Every time he poured his first cup, he would immediately sit at his desk and write for 20 minutes. The reward was the satisfaction of seeing his word count grow and the improved quality of his work over time. Within 3 months, this simple system had generated over 50,000 words of his first novel. What makes some people more successful at building habits than others? Research reveals that environment plays a crucial role. Making desired behaviors easier and undesired behaviors harder significantly improves success rates. Elena wanted to eat healthier but struggled with evening snacking. Instead of relying on willpower, she redesigned her environment. Elena removed processed snacks from her kitchen and placed fresh fruit on the counter where she could easily see it. She also prepared healthy snacks in advance and stored them in clear containers at eye level in her refrigerator. These environmental changes made healthy choices automatic rather than dependent on daily decisions. How might you redesign your environment to support the habits you want to build? Consider what small changes could make your desired behaviors more convenient and obvious. The concept of habit stacking proves particularly effective for building new routines. This technique involves attaching a new habit to an existing one, using the established behavior as an anchor. The formula is simple. After I do existing habit, I will do new habit. David wanted to practice gratitude but couldn't remember to journal consistently. He decided to stack this new habit onto his existing routine of checking his phone alarm each morning. His new rule became, after I turn off my alarm, I will write 3 things I'm grateful for. This connection made the gratitude practice automatic because it piggybacked on a behavior he already performed reliably. Starting small proves essential for long-term success. Many people fail because they attempt to change too much too quickly. The principle of minimum effective dose suggests beginning with the smallest possible version of a desired habit. This reduces resistance and builds confidence through early wins. When Tommy decided to learn Spanish, he committed to just 5 minutes of practice daily using a language app. This seemed almost too easy, but that was precisely why it worked. The low barrier to entry meant he rarely skipped days, even when busy or tired. After establishing this foundation, Tommy naturally began extending his practice sessions as his motivation and competence grew. Consistency matters more than intensity when building habits. A person who exercises for 10 minutes daily will achieve better long-term results than someone who works out intensely once per week. The brain builds neural pathways through repetition, making consistent actions increasingly automatic over time. Progress often follows a pattern that researchers call the plateau of latent potential. Initial efforts may show little visible progress, creating frustration and tempting people to quit. However, habits work like ice melting under gradually increasing temperature. Nothing seems to happen until suddenly, at 32 degrees, the ice transforms into water. Lisa experienced this phenomenon while learning piano. For months, her playing seemed to improve slowly despite daily practice. She felt discouraged and considered quitting. Then, seemingly overnight, everything clicked. Her muscle memory had been developing invisibly, and her skills suddenly accelerated dramatically. The breakthrough came not from one exceptional practice session, but from the accumulation of many ordinary ones. Difficult days test our commitment to habits more than any other factor. The most successful people develop strategies for maintaining routines even when motivation wanes. One effective approach involves creating minimum viable habits, scaled-down versions that can be maintained during challenging periods. Rachel built a successful morning routine that included meditation, exercise, and journaling. When she faced a particularly stressful work period, she adapted her routine rather than abandoning it. Her minimum viable version included just 2 minutes of breathing exercises, 10 push-ups, and writing 1 sentence of gratitude. This flexibility allowed her to maintain the habit structure while accommodating temporary constraints. What would your minimum viable version look like for the habits you want to build? Planning for difficult days in advance prevents them from derailing your progress entirely. The timing of habit formation also influences success rates. Research suggests that linking new habits to specific times and locations increases adherence. This principle, called implementation intention, involves creating if-then plans that specify when and where behaviors will occur. Instead of saying, "I will read more," Alex created a specific implementation intention. If it's 7 p.m. and I'm in my living room, then I will read for 20 minutes before watching TV. This precise specification eliminated decision fatigue and made the behavior more automatic. Tracking progress provides motivation and accountability for habit building. Simple tracking methods often work better than complex systems. Jerry wanted to drink more water throughout the day. He used a basic method of moving rubber bands from one wrist to the other each time he finished a glass of water. This visual tracking system made his progress obvious and rewarding. The social environment significantly impacts habit formation success. Surrounding yourself with people who embody the habits you want to develop creates natural reinforcement and accountability. When Carmen joined a running group, she found it much easier to maintain her exercise routine because it became part of her social identity and weekly commitments. Building keystone habits can create positive cascades across multiple life areas. These are habits that naturally trigger other beneficial behaviors. Exercise often serves as a keystone habit because it tends to improve sleep, nutrition, choices, and energy levels simultaneously. Kevin discovered this effect when he started going to bed 30 minutes earlier. This single change improved his morning alertness, making it easier to exercise before work. The exercise boosted his energy and mood, leading to better food choices throughout the day. One small adjustment created a positive spiral affecting multiple aspects of his life. Habit formation requires patience with the process while maintaining faith in the outcome. The compound effect means that early efforts may seem insignificant, but persistence reveals their true power. Like a bamboo plant that shows little growth for years before shooting up rapidly, habit-driven progress often appears slowly before accelerating dramatically. The most sustainable approach focuses on becoming the type of person who naturally performs desired behaviors, rather than forcing yourself through willpower alone. This identity-based habit formation proves more durable because it aligns actions with self-concept. Instead of, "I want to write a book," the identity becomes, "I am a writer who writes daily." Understanding the science behind habits empowers you to design systems that work with your brain rather than against it. Habits become the invisible architecture supporting your dreams, automatically moving you toward your goals, even when motivation fluctuates. The magic lies not in dramatic gestures, but in the quiet power of consistency applied over time. Part 2. Tackling roadblocks. Every journey toward a meaningful goal encounters roadblocks. These obstacles test your commitment and challenge your resolve, but they also offer the greatest opportunities for growth. When faced with setbacks, procrastination, or self-doubt, your response determines whether you advance or retreat. The most successful people aren't those who never face obstacles, but those who develop effective strategies for moving through them. This section provides practical tools for identifying common roadblocks and transforming them into stepping stones toward your dreams. Even with the strongest habits in place, obstacles will emerge on your path to success. Think of roadblocks not as failures, but as natural parts of any worthwhile journey. The difference between those who achieve their dreams and those who abandon them lies in how they respond when challenges arise. Consider Marcus, a software developer who dreamed of starting his own company. For months, he maintained perfect habits, coding for 2 hours each morning before work, networking during lunch breaks, and researching market opportunities on weekends. Then his father became ill, requiring Marcus to spend evenings at the hospital. His carefully crafted routine crumbled overnight. Marcus faced a choice that millions encounter daily. He could use this setback as evidence that his dream was unrealistic, or he could adapt his approach. Instead of abandoning his goals, Marcus reduced his coding sessions to 30 minutes and listened to business podcasts during his hospital commutes. His progress slowed, but it never stopped. The first step in tackling roadblocks involves recognition. Many obstacles disguise themselves as reasonable excuses or temporary delays. Procrastination often appears as perfectionism, telling you to wait until conditions are ideal. Self-doubt masquerades as prudent caution, suggesting you need more preparation before taking action. What excuses do you regularly accept that might actually be roadblocks in disguise? Learning to identify these patterns early prevents small obstacles from becoming permanent barriers. Common roadblocks fall into predictable categories. Procrastination ranks among the most frequent, often stemming from fear of failure or overwhelming task complexity. When Elena decided to write her first novel, she spent weeks researching the perfect writing software instead of writing. Her procrastination wasn't laziness, but anxiety about producing imperfect work. Self-doubt presents another major obstacle. After 6 months of consistent morning runs, David registered for his first marathon. As the race approached, his inner critic grew louder. "You're not a real runner. You'll embarrass yourself. Real athletes started in high school." These thoughts paralyzed his training progress until he learned to recognize them as fear, not facts. External setbacks create additional challenges. Job changes, family emergencies, health issues, or financial pressures can derail even the most dedicated person. The key lies not in preventing these situations, but in developing resilience when they occur. For procrastination, break overwhelming tasks into micro-actions. Instead of write a business plan, Elena could commit to write 1 paragraph about my target market. Small actions create momentum and reduce the mental resistance that feeds procrastination. Set a timer for 15 minutes and work on the smallest possible version of your task. Often, starting is the hardest part. When perfectionism drives procrastination, embrace the concept of good enough for now. First drafts don't need to be final drafts. Initial attempts provide raw material for improvement. Elena eventually wrote her novel by committing to produce terrible first drafts, knowing she could always revise later. Self-doubt requires different strategies. Challenge negative thoughts by examining the evidence. When David questioned his runner identity, he listed concrete evidence. He ran 4 times weekly for 6 months, completed a 10K race, and improved his pace significantly. Facts counter feelings effectively. Create a support system for moments when self-doubt peaks. Share your goals with trusted friends or family members who can remind you of your progress when you forget. David joined a running group where experienced marathoners shared their own early struggles, normalizing his experience. External setbacks demand flexibility rather than abandonment. When circumstances change, adapt your methods while maintaining your direction. Marcus reduced his daily coding time but increased his efficiency by focusing on the most critical skills first. Progress slowed but continued. Build contingency plans before setbacks occur. Ask yourself, if I could only spend half the time on this goal, what would I prioritize? Having backup plans prevents decision paralysis when obstacles arise. How would you modify your current approach if your available time was suddenly cut in half? This thought experiment prepares you for real-world disruptions. The obstacle as teacher mindset transforms setbacks into valuable lessons. When Rachel's bakery startup faced supply chain disruptions, she initially viewed this as a devastating setback. Instead of giving up, she used the delay to refine her recipes and build customer anticipation through social media. The obstacle forced her to develop marketing skills she might have neglected otherwise. Document lessons learned from each obstacle. Keep a simple record of challenges faced and solutions discovered. This creates a personal playbook for future difficulties and builds confidence in your problem-solving abilities. Recovery strategies help restore momentum after setbacks. When you've been knocked off course, resist the urge to make dramatic course corrections. Instead, return to your smallest sustainable habit. If Marcus missed a week of coding due to family responsibilities, he would restart with just 10 minutes rather than trying to make up for lost time. The fresh start effect can help reset motivation after obstacles. Use natural transition points like Mondays, month beginnings, or seasons to recommit to your goals. This psychological reset can restore momentum more effectively than forcing yourself to continue from a point of discouragement. Seek support when obstacles feel overwhelming. Pride often prevents people from asking for help, but successful individuals regularly leverage others' expertise and encouragement. This might mean hiring a coach, joining a support group, or simply asking a friend to check on your progress weekly. Remember that obstacles are temporary, while dreams can be permanent. Marcus eventually launched his company, Elena published her novel, and David completed 3 marathons. Their success came not from avoiding roadblocks, but from developing effective strategies for moving through them. The path to any meaningful goal includes obstacles. Your dreams depend not on perfect conditions, but on your willingness to adapt, persist, and grow through challenges. Every roadblock conquered builds the resilience and problem-solving skills needed for future obstacles. Part 3. Staying on track. Building momentum after overcoming obstacles requires systems that keep you moving forward when motivation wanes. Think of staying on track like tending a garden. You cannot plant seeds and expect them to flourish without regular watering, weeding, and attention. Your dreams require the same consistent care, especially during seasons when progress feels slow or invisible. The most successful people develop tracking systems that reveal patterns and progress over time. Rachel, a teacher who wanted to write children's books, struggled for months feeling like she was making no headway. She wrote sporadically, sometimes daily, sometimes not for weeks. Everything changed when she started a simple tracking method. Each evening she marked whether she had written that day with a green dot for yes or red dot for no. The visual pattern shocked her. Red dots dominated, explaining her frustration perfectly. This simple awareness transformed her approach. She could see exactly where her consistency broke down and began identifying the triggers. Tuesday evenings after parent conferences meant no writing. Weekends when she visited her parents also showed red dots. Armed with this information, Rachel adjusted her schedule and found alternative times for those challenging days. Regular check-ins serve as your personal navigation system. Weekly reviews help you assess what worked, what did not, and what needs adjustment. During these sessions, ask yourself specific questions. What obstacles appeared this week? Which habits served my goals? What patterns am I noticing in my behavior? Where can I make small improvements? Consider how Kevin approached his goal to learn Spanish. Every Sunday morning, he spent 15 minutes reviewing his progress. He tracked vocabulary learned, conversation practice completed, and lessons finished. More importantly, he noted his emotional state and energy levels throughout the week. This practice revealed that he learned best in the morning and struggled when he tried to study after work. How often do you pause to genuinely assess your progress and emotional connection to your goals? Accountability partners provide external structure when internal motivation falters. Choose someone who understands your goals and genuinely wants to see you succeed. This person should be reliable, honest, and willing to have difficult conversations when necessary. The relationship works best when both people benefit from mutual accountability. Lisa and her colleague Tom created an accountability partnership around their professional development goals. Every 2 weeks, they met for coffee to discuss their progress. Lisa wanted to complete her project management certification, while Tom worked toward launching his consulting practice. They celebrated each other's wins and problem-solved through setbacks together. When Lisa felt overwhelmed by the certification material, Tom helped her break it into smaller chunks. When Tom doubted his consulting skills, Lisa reminded him of his expertise and encouraged him to take the next step. The magic of accountability lies not in judgment, but in witness. Having someone who notices your efforts makes the invisible work visible. Your accountability partner sees the discipline you exercise when motivation is low and celebrates the consistency that builds dreams. Progress celebration creates positive feedback loops that sustain long-term effort. Many people wait until they reach their final destination to acknowledge their journey. This approach ignores the psychological fuel that comes from recognizing forward movement. Your brain responds to celebration by releasing chemicals that reinforce the behaviors that created the success. Create milestone markers throughout your journey. If your goal is to save money for a house down payment, celebrate when you reach each $1,000 increment. If you want to run a marathon, acknowledge completing your first continuous mile, your first 5-kilometer run, and your first long training run. These celebrations do not need to be elaborate or expensive. Sometimes acknowledgement itself provides sufficient reward. What small wins from this week deserve recognition and celebration? Flexibility prevents rigidity from derailing your efforts. Life rarely follows our planned schedules. Successful people build adaptability into their systems rather than abandoning goals when circumstances change. This means having backup plans, alternative approaches, and modified expectations ready when needed. When the pandemic disrupted gym routines globally, people with fitness goals faced a choice. Some abandoned their health objectives entirely. Others adapted by creating home workout routines, taking long walks, or finding online fitness communities. The difference lay not in their circumstances, but in their willingness to modify their methods while maintaining their commitment to the underlying goal. Self-compassion provides the emotional resilience needed for long-term success. Perfectionism creates fragile motivation that shatters with the first mistake. Compassionate self-talk acknowledges setbacks without creating shame spirals that derail progress entirely. When you miss a day, week, or month of progress, treat yourself with the same kindness you would offer a good friend facing similar challenges. Remember that consistency beats intensity over time. 3 days of exercise each week for 6 months creates more lasting change than exercising daily for 3 weeks, then stopping entirely. Small, sustainable actions compound into remarkable results when maintained over time. Your tracking systems, check-ins, accountability relationships, celebrations, and compassionate self-talk create the infrastructure that supports this consistency. The journey toward any meaningful goal includes seasons of excitement, boredom, frustration, and breakthrough. Staying on track means developing systems that work regardless of your emotional state or external circumstances. These practices transform sporadic effort into sustainable progress that builds the life you envision. Part 4. Celebrating small wins. The power of recognition lies in its ability to transform ordinary moments into fuel for extraordinary achievements. When you take time to acknowledge progress, no matter how small, you create a positive feedback loop that strengthens your commitment and makes the journey toward your dreams more enjoyable. This practice of celebrating small wins serves as both motivation and validation, proving that your efforts matter and your dreams are worth pursuing. The simple act of recognition can turn a difficult path into a rewarding adventure, where each step forward becomes a reason to continue. Consider Emma, a marketing professional who decided to write her first novel. Instead of waiting until she finished the entire manuscript, she celebrated writing her first chapter by treating herself to a special coffee. After completing 10 chapters, she bought herself a new notebook. These small celebrations kept her motivated through months of early morning writing sessions. When she finally typed the end, the achievement felt even sweeter because she had honored every milestone along the way. The science behind celebrating small wins reveals why this practice works so effectively. Each time you acknowledge progress, your brain releases dopamine, the same chemical associated with pleasure and reward. This neurological response reinforces the behavior that led to the achievement, making you more likely to continue the positive actions. When Jacob started learning Spanish, he initially felt overwhelmed by the complexity of the language. However, when he began celebrating small victories like learning 5 new words each day or successfully ordering food in Spanish, his confidence grew. These celebrations created positive associations with the learning process, transforming what felt like a chore into something he looked forward to. Recognition doesn't require expensive rewards or elaborate ceremonies. Sometimes the most powerful celebrations are the simplest ones. Lisa, who was working toward running her first marathon, discovered that sharing her weekly mileage increases on social media created a supportive community that cheered her progress. The simple act of posting her achievements and receiving encouragement from friends became a powerful motivator that carried her through challenging training days. What small progress in your life deserves recognition right now? Often we overlook achievements because they seem insignificant compared to our ultimate goals. However, these moments of progress are the building blocks of larger success. Tom, an aspiring chef, initially dismissed his ability to cook simple meals without burning them. Once he started acknowledging these basic cooking successes, he gained confidence to attempt more complex recipes. Each small victory built upon the previous one, eventually leading to his dream of opening a restaurant. The practice of celebrating wins also helps maintain perspective during difficult periods. When Rachel was building her online business, she experienced months where revenue barely increased. By celebrating non-financial wins like gaining 10 new email subscribers or receiving positive customer feedback, she maintained motivation during the challenging early stages. These celebrations reminded her that progress takes many forms, not all of which appear immediately in financial statements. Creating a personal celebration system makes recognition automatic rather than accidental. This might involve keeping a progress journal where you write down daily achievements, no matter how small. Mark, a fitness enthusiast, developed a simple system where he placed a gold star on his calendar for every workout completed. After accumulating 20 stars, he rewarded himself with new workout gear. This visual representation of progress created motivation and made his consistency visible. Different types of achievements call for different types of celebrations. Process-based wins, like sticking to a morning routine for a week, might warrant a small personal reward. Outcome-based achievements, such as completing a course or reaching a savings milestone, might deserve larger celebrations that you share with others. The key lies in matching the celebration to the significance of the achievement, while ensuring that the reward doesn't undermine your larger goals. How do you currently acknowledge your progress? And what might you change to make celebrations more meaningful? The answer to this question often reveals opportunities to strengthen your motivation system. Some people find that sharing achievements with supportive friends or family members amplifies the positive feelings associated with progress. Others prefer private celebrations that allow for personal reflection and gratitude. The timing of celebrations significantly impacts their effectiveness. Immediate recognition, even if small, often proves more motivating than delayed larger rewards. When Diana was learning to play piano, she discovered that taking a moment to appreciate her improvement after each practice session was more effective than waiting for weekly lessons to receive teacher feedback. This immediate recognition helped her maintain daily practice habits that accelerated her learning. Celebrating small wins also builds resilience for handling setbacks. When you regularly acknowledge progress, temporary failures feel less devastating because you have evidence of your capability and commitment. Kevin, who was working toward a promotion, experienced several project setbacks that initially discouraged him. However, because he had been celebrating small professional wins like positive client feedback and successful presentations, he maintained confidence in his abilities and continued pursuing his goal. The practice of celebration creates positive memories associated with your goal pursuit. Years later, you'll remember not just the final achievement, but the joy experienced along the journey. These positive associations make you more likely to pursue ambitious goals in the future, because your brain connects goal setting with pleasure rather than struggle. This psychological shift transforms you from someone who occasionally pursues goals into someone who consistently works toward meaningful objectives. Gratitude amplifies the power of celebrating small wins. When you not only acknowledge progress but also express appreciation for the opportunity to pursue your dreams, the celebration becomes deeper and more meaningful. This combination of recognition and gratitude creates a sustainable motivation system that doesn't depend on external validation or perfect conditions. Chapter 4, When the Going Gets Tough. Part 1, Embracing Setbacks. Life has a way of testing every person who dares to chase their dreams. While small steps build momentum and create powerful habits, they also lead you through territory where setbacks wait around every corner. This section transforms how you view these inevitable challenges, turning disappointments into stepping stones and failures into fuel for future success. You will discover practical tools to process setbacks with grace, extract valuable lessons from every stumble, and bounce back stronger than before. Every worthwhile journey includes moments when progress stops and obstacles appear impossible. These setbacks are not flaws in your plan, but essential parts of the process itself. Consider Rachel, who spent 3 years building a small bakery business through careful daily habits. She tracked her expenses, tested new recipes weekly, and gradually built a loyal customer base. Then a kitchen fire destroyed her equipment and forced her to close for 2 months. The setback felt devastating. Rachel's first instinct was to view this as proof that her dream was impossible. But setbacks reveal crucial information about your path forward. Rachel discovered that her insurance coverage was inadequate. Her equipment was outdated, and her business model relied too heavily on one revenue stream. The fire forced her to rebuild with better systems, modern equipment, and multiple income sources, including online orders and catering services. How do you currently respond when unexpected challenges derail your carefully laid plans? The human brain naturally interprets setbacks as threats to survival. This ancient wiring causes people to either fight against reality or retreat completely. Neither response serves your long-term goals. Instead, effective goal achievers develop a third option. They process setbacks as data. When Marcus lost his job after 6 months of steady progress toward his fitness goals, his gym membership felt like an expensive luxury he could no longer afford. His initial reaction was to abandon his workout routine entirely, but Marcus learned to separate the setback from his core objective. He researched bodyweight exercises, found free running trails, and discovered that home workouts could be just as effective as gym sessions. The key is distinguishing between temporary circumstances and permanent identity. A setback affects what you do, not who you are. Marcus remained someone committed to fitness even when his methods changed. Processing disappointment requires a structured approach. First, acknowledge the emotional impact without judgment. Feeling frustrated, sad, or angry about setbacks is completely normal. These emotions contain valuable information about what matters most to you. Second, examine the situation objectively. What specific factors contributed to the setback? Which elements were within your control and which were external circumstances? This analysis prevents you from taking responsibility for things beyond your influence while highlighting areas where you can make improvements. Third, identify the lessons available. Every setback teaches something valuable about your approach, your assumptions, or your preparation. These lessons often prove more valuable than smooth progress because they reveal hidden weaknesses before they become bigger problems. What would you discover if you viewed your most recent disappointment as a teacher rather than an enemy? Elena's story illustrates this process beautifully. She spent 8 months building a freelance writing business, following a systematic approach of daily prospecting and skill development. When her biggest client suddenly canceled their contract, Elena lost 60% of her income overnight. Her initial emotional response included panic about paying rent and doubt about her abilities. But Elena applied the 3-step process. She acknowledged her fear without letting it drive her decisions. She analyzed the situation and realized that depending too heavily on one client created unnecessary risk. Most importantly, she extracted the lesson. Diversification protects against unexpected losses. Within 6 weeks, Elena had replaced the lost income with 3 smaller clients. Her business became more stable because she never again allowed one client to represent more than 30% of her revenue. Resilience grows through practice, not through avoiding challenges. Each setback you process effectively builds your capacity to handle larger obstacles in the future. This compound effect means that early setbacks often prove to be gifts that prepare you for later success. The language you use to describe setbacks shapes your relationship with them. Instead of calling them failures, consider them experiments that produced unexpected results. Instead of viewing them as evidence of your inadequacy, recognize them as proof that you are pushing beyond your comfort zone. Recovery from setbacks follows predictable patterns. Initially, disappointment and frustration are normal and healthy responses. Fighting these emotions wastes energy that could be directed toward solutions. Accept them as temporary visitors, not permanent residents. Next comes the analysis phase, where you can examine what happened with curiosity rather than judgment. This investigative mindset transforms setbacks from personal attacks into puzzles to solve. The goal is understanding, not blame. Finally, adaptation occurs when you modify your approach based on new information. This might mean changing your methods, adjusting your timeline, or developing new skills. Adaptation demonstrates growth and increases your chances of future success. How might your biggest setback actually be preparing you for opportunities you cannot yet see? Tom's experience with starting a photography business demonstrates this progression. After 6 months of weekend shoots and steady progress, he invested in expensive equipment just before the economy slowed and demand dropped. The financial pressure forced him to take a part-time job, which felt like moving backward. During the analysis phase, Tom realized that the economic downturn affected all photographers in his area. He also discovered that his equipment investment, while poorly timed, positioned him to offer higher quality services than most competitors. The adaptation phase led him to focus on corporate headshots and virtual event photography, two markets that actually grew during economic uncertainty. Tom's photography business eventually became more profitable than his original plan because the setback forced him to find underserved markets and develop specialized skills. Self-forgiveness is crucial for bouncing back from setbacks. Harsh self-criticism creates a cycle where fear of future failures prevents you from taking necessary risks. Treat yourself with the same compassion you would offer a good friend facing similar challenges. Remember that setbacks are universal experiences, not personal shortcomings. Every successful person has faced obstacles that seemed insurmountable at the time. Your setbacks do not make you different from successful people. They make you similar to them. The most powerful reframe for setbacks is viewing them as plot twists in your story rather than endings. Every compelling narrative includes moments when the main character faces seemingly impossible challenges. These moments create the tension and growth that make the eventual success meaningful. Your setbacks are not signs that you should quit. They are evidence that you are engaged in something challenging enough to matter. Small steps continue to work even when the path becomes difficult. Each day you choose to continue after a setback, you build the resilience that will carry you through future challenges and toward your ultimate dreams. Part 2. Finding focus in the noise. Finding focus becomes more challenging after experiencing setbacks. Your mind often races with doubt, worry, and scattered thoughts about what went wrong. This creates mental noise that drowns out your ability to concentrate on what truly matters. Yet focus is exactly what you need most during difficult times. Without it, you risk making emotional decisions that pull you further away from your dreams. The good news is that focus is a skill you can develop regardless of your circumstances. By creating the right environment and using proven techniques, you can train your attention to serve your goals rather than sabotage them. This section will show you how to cut through the chaos and protect your mental energy for the work that counts. Maya discovered this truth the hard way during her second year of medical school. After failing her first major exam, she found herself constantly distracted by social media, news, and anxious thoughts about her future. Her study sessions became ineffective as her mind jumped from one worry to another. She realized that her scattered attention was making recovery from the setback even harder. Research shows that the average person checks their phone 144 times per day and switches between tasks every 3 minutes. This constant interruption prevents the brain from entering states of deep concentration where real learning and problem-solving occur. When you are already dealing with setbacks, this mental fragmentation becomes even more damaging. Maya decided to create what experts call a distraction-free zone. She turned her phone to airplane mode during study sessions, cleared her desk of everything except her current materials, and chose a quiet corner of the library where foot traffic was minimal. Within a week, she noticed her ability to concentrate improving dramatically. The environment shapes behavior more than most people realize. Alex, a small business owner who struggled to focus after his startup failed, transformed his home office by removing his television, installing blackout curtains, and keeping only essential items on his desk. He also established a simple rule: no internet browsing during his designated work hours. These physical changes supported his mental shift back toward productive action. How might your current environment be sabotaging your ability to focus on what matters most? Creating boundaries around your attention requires both external and internal strategies. External boundaries involve controlling your physical space and technology use. Internal boundaries involve training your mind to recognize and redirect wandering thoughts. The combination of both approaches creates a fortress of focus that protects your mental energy. Time blocking represents one of the most effective techniques for maintaining focus. Instead of working from a general to-do list, you assign specific time slots to specific activities. Rachel, a teacher who returned to graduate school after a career setback, blocked out 2 hours every evening for thesis work. During this time, she treated her study session like an important meeting that could not be interrupted or rescheduled. The power of time blocking lies in its ability to create artificial deadlines and reduce decision fatigue. When you know exactly what you should be doing at any given moment, your brain stops wasting energy on constant choices about priorities. This mental clarity becomes especially valuable when dealing with the emotional aftermath of setbacks. Single tasking emerges as another crucial skill in our multitasking world. Tom, a software developer who lost his job during a company layoff, initially tried to job search, learn new programming languages, and network simultaneously. His scattered approach yielded poor results in all areas. When he committed to focusing on one activity at a time, his progress accelerated significantly. The neuroscience behind single tasking reveals why this approach works so well. When you switch between tasks, your brain requires time to refocus on each new activity. This switching cost can reduce productivity by up to 40%. During challenging periods, you cannot afford to waste nearly half of your mental capacity on inefficient task switching. What would happen if you committed to doing just one important thing at a time for the next week? Meditation and mindfulness practices offer powerful tools for strengthening your focus muscle. Even 5 minutes of daily meditation can improve attention span and reduce mind wandering. David, an entrepreneur rebuilding after a business failure, started with just 3 minutes of morning meditation. This simple practice helped him notice when his thoughts drifted toward worry and gently guide his attention back to productive activities. The beauty of mindfulness lies in its accessibility. You do not need special equipment, expensive courses, or hours of free time. You simply need the willingness to observe your thoughts without judgment and practice returning your attention to the present moment. This skill transfers directly to work situations where focus determines success. Managing energy levels throughout the day becomes critical for sustained focus. Research indicates that most people experience peak cognitive performance during specific hours, often in the morning. Lisa, a writer working on her first novel after previous rejection letters, scheduled her most demanding creative work between 7 and 10 a.m. when her mind felt sharpest. Understanding your natural energy rhythms allows you to align challenging tasks with peak performance periods. Save routine activities like email checking or administrative work for times when your energy naturally dips. This strategic approach maximizes the return on your mental investment. The concept of attention residue explains why transitioning between different types of activities can be mentally exhausting. When you jump from creative work to administrative tasks to personal phone calls, parts of your mind remain stuck on previous activities. Grouping similar tasks together reduces this mental switching cost and preserves cognitive resources for important work. Building focus requires patience and self-compassion, especially when recovering from setbacks. Your concentration abilities may feel rusty at first, like muscles that have not been exercised in months. Start with shorter focus sessions and gradually increase duration as your mental stamina improves. Progress, not perfection, should be your goal. The peace that comes from sustained focus creates its own reward system. When you can work for extended periods without distraction, you enter flow states where time seems to disappear and productivity soars. These experiences rebuild confidence in your abilities and demonstrate that you can still accomplish meaningful work despite recent challenges. Remember that protecting your focus is not selfish, it is essential. Every moment of scattered attention delays your recovery and progress toward new goals. By treating your attention as your most valuable resource and guarding it accordingly, you create the mental conditions necessary for bouncing back stronger than before. Part 3. The power of persistence. When focus becomes your foundation, persistence transforms from a struggle into a natural flow. The people who achieve extraordinary things rarely possess superhuman willpower. Instead, they develop systems that make continuing feel easier than quitting. This section reveals how ordinary individuals turned persistence into their secret weapon, creating momentum that carried them through years of challenges toward their biggest dreams. You will discover the specific habits, mindsets, and strategies that sustain long-term effort, learning to draw strength from setbacks rather than being defeated by them. Emma started her catering business from her kitchen table with just $200 and a dream to feed her community. The first year brought 17 failed events, countless rejections, and moments when she questioned everything. Yet 3 years later, her company employed 15 people and served major corporate clients across the city. The difference was not talent or luck. It was her ability to persist through discouragement. What separated Emma from others who gave up was her understanding that persistence operates on multiple levels. She learned to break her big vision into smaller, manageable actions that she could complete even on difficult days. When a major client canceled their contract, instead of seeing it as failure, she used the feedback to improve her service offerings. This shift in perspective transformed obstacles into stepping stones. The most persistent people share 3 core qualities that anyone can develop. First, they maintain clarity about their deeper purpose. Emma kept a photo of her grandmother's recipe book on her desk, reminding her daily why she started cooking in the first place. This emotional connection provided fuel during challenging periods when logic suggested quitting. Second, they practice what researchers call adaptive flexibility. Rather than rigidly sticking to one approach, they adjust their methods while keeping their destination constant. When Lucas wanted to become a published author, his first novel was rejected 43 times. Instead of abandoning writing, he joined a critique group, improved his craft, and eventually published 5 best-selling books. He changed his strategy, not his goal. How do you currently respond when your initial approach is not working? Consider whether you tend to abandon the goal entirely or find alternative paths forward. Third, persistent individuals create systems that make progress automatic. They rely on habits rather than motivation because they understand that feelings fluctuate while systems endure. Maya wanted to learn Spanish but struggled with consistency until she attached language practice to her morning coffee routine. This simple pairing created a trigger that eventually led to fluency and a successful career in international business. The key to sustaining effort lies in understanding the difference between productive persistence and stubborn obsession. Productive persistence involves regular evaluation and course correction. It means asking whether your current approach serves your ultimate objective. When Rachel spent 2 years trying to break into traditional publishing, she eventually recognized that self-publishing aligned better with her goals of reaching readers quickly and maintaining creative control. Building persistence requires managing your energy as carefully as your time. This means recognizing when to push forward and when to rest. The most successful people create rhythms that prevent burnout while maintaining momentum. They understand that sustainable progress beats sporadic intensity. What systems could you put in place today to make persistence feel more natural and less forced? The research shows that people who achieve long-term goals share a common trait. They measure progress in small increments rather than waiting for dramatic breakthroughs. James wanted to run a marathon, but had never completed a 5-kilometer race. Instead of focusing on the full distance, he celebrated each weekly mileage increase. This approach kept him motivated through 6 months of training and ultimately led to not just completing the marathon, but qualifying for Boston. Creating your own persistence system starts with identifying your non-negotiable daily actions. These should be so small that you can complete them even on your worst days, yet significant enough to create real progress over time. The compound effect of these micro-actions eventually produces extraordinary results. Remember that persistence is not about perfect consistency, but about getting back on track quickly after setbacks. The most resilient people treat failures as data points rather than verdicts. They ask what they can learn and how they can improve, then take the next small step forward. Your dreams deserve the gift of your persistence. The path may be longer than expected, but each step builds the strength and skills needed for the journey ahead. Part 4. Writing your next chapter. This section marks a crucial moment in your personal development journey. Having built persistence and weathered challenges, you now stand at the threshold of conscious transformation. This chapter guides you through the process of intentional life design, helping you synthesize lessons learned while mapping your future path. You will discover how to evaluate your progress objectively, set meaningful new directions, and maintain momentum during transitions. Through practical frameworks and real-world examples, you will learn to approach change as an opportunity for growth rather than a source of anxiety. Every journey contains natural transition points where reflection becomes essential. These moments often arrive unexpectedly, triggered by completed projects, life changes, or simply the realization that current goals no longer serve your evolving self. Elena faced such a moment after spending 3 years building her photography business. Initially driven by the desire for creative freedom, she achieved her goal of leaving corporate life. Yet sitting in her home studio one morning, she felt restless. The dream she had worked so hard to achieve now felt too small for who she had become through the process. This experience represents a common phenomenon in personal growth. Achievement often reveals new possibilities we could not previously imagine. The skills, confidence, and self-knowledge gained through pursuing one goal naturally prepare us for bigger challenges. Rather than viewing this restlessness as dissatisfaction, Elena learned to see it as growth. Her original goal had served its purpose, transforming her from someone who dreamed of creative work into someone living that reality. Now she needed new objectives that matched her expanded capabilities. What dreams feel too small for who you are becoming? Sometimes the most important signal for change comes not from failure, but from success that no longer excites us. The transition between old and new goals requires careful navigation. Research shows that people who successfully reinvent themselves follow a predictable pattern. They first acknowledge what worked in their previous chapter, then identify which elements to carry forward and which to leave behind. Marcus exemplified this approach when transitioning from amateur musician to music teacher. His years of weekend performances had taught him discipline, stage presence, and musical theory. However, his teaching goals required different skills entirely. He consciously retained his practice habits while developing patience, communication skills, and curriculum design abilities. This selective retention prevents the common mistake of abandoning everything when changing direction. Your past efforts contain valuable assets that can accelerate future progress when properly identified and transferred. The most effective goal setters treat their lives like strategic narratives rather than disconnected episodes. They ask how each chapter builds upon previous ones while introducing new themes and challenges. Consider how Rachel approached her career transition from accounting to wellness coaching. Instead of viewing her financial background as irrelevant, she recognized how her analytical skills could help clients create sustainable wellness budgets and track progress objectively. Her accounting experience became a unique differentiator in the coaching market. This integration mindset transforms potential obstacles into advantages. Every skill, relationship, and insight from your past becomes a resource for future endeavors when viewed through the right lens. How might your current challenges be preparing you for opportunities you cannot yet see? Often, our struggles develop exactly the capabilities we will need for our next chapter. The process of writing your next chapter begins with honest assessment of your current position. This evaluation should examine both external achievements and internal growth. External measures include completed goals, acquired skills, and built relationships. Internal measures involve confidence levels, self-knowledge, and emotional resilience. David used this dual assessment when considering his next career move. Externally, he had successfully managed increasingly complex projects and built a strong professional network. Internally, he had discovered his ability to remain calm under pressure and his talent for seeing solutions others missed. These insights guided his decision to pursue consulting rather than climbing the corporate ladder. His external achievements provided credibility with potential clients, while his internal discoveries revealed consulting aligned better with his natural strengths than management roles. Regular assessment prevents the common trap of pursuing goals based on outdated self-concepts. As we grow, our optimal path often shifts in ways that require conscious recognition and adjustment. Setting new goals requires balancing ambition with realism. The most sustainable approach involves extending your proven success patterns into new domains rather than attempting complete reinvention. Lisa demonstrated this principle when expanding from successful blog writing to book authoring. Her blogging had proven her ability to research topics thoroughly, write engaging content, and build audience relationships. Book writing required these same skills applied at greater depth and scale. By recognizing the connection between her proven abilities and her new goal, Lisa could plan her transition methodically. She gradually increased article length, practiced sustained writing sessions, and studied book marketing while continuing her successful blog. This bridging approach reduces the anxiety and overwhelm that often accompany major goal changes. New challenges feel manageable when built upon established foundations. The most powerful next chapters often emerge from combining existing skills in novel ways rather than starting completely fresh. Innovation frequently occurs at the intersection of different competencies. James discovered this when combining his programming background with his passion for education. Neither skill alone would have led to his successful educational software company, but their combination created unique value in the marketplace. Look for these intersection opportunities in your own experience. Where do your various interests, skills, and knowledge areas converge? These convergence points often reveal the most promising directions for growth. What unique combination of your experiences might solve problems others cannot address? Your distinctive blend of capabilities represents your greatest competitive advantage. Successful chapter transitions also require environmental adjustments. The habits, routines, and relationships that supported previous goals may need modification to enable new ones. When transitioning from competitive running to marathon coaching, Angela realized her training-focused morning routine needed restructuring. Instead of spending 2 hours on personal workouts, she allocated time for reviewing client progress and planning training sessions. This environmental redesign often feels uncomfortable initially. Familiar patterns provide psychological security even when they no longer serve our evolving goals. Successful transition requires intentionally creating new structures before motivation appears. The key involves making environmental changes gradually while maintaining core stability elements. This approach prevents the disruption that can derail progress during vulnerable transition periods. Your next chapter will also benefit from expanded perspectives on success metrics. Goals that served you previously may have emphasized external achievements like income, recognition, or skill acquisition. More mature goal setting often incorporates internal measures like fulfillment, growth, and contribution. Martin experienced this evolution when shifting from pursuing partnership at his law firm to starting his own practice focused on helping small businesses. His previous success metrics centered on billable hours and client prestige. His new chapter emphasized client impact and work-life integration. This evolution does not diminish the value of external achievements. Rather, it recognizes that sustainable motivation requires alignment between outer accomplishments and inner values. The most satisfying goals contribute to both personal growth and meaningful impact. How are your definitions of success evolving as you gain life experience? The metrics that energize you today may differ significantly from those that motivated you earlier. Writing your next chapter also means accepting that growth continues indefinitely. This acceptance transforms goal achievement from destinations into way stations on an ongoing journey of development. This perspective shift profoundly affects how we approach setbacks and unexpected changes. When we view life as continuous evolution rather than a series of final achievements, obstacles become information rather than verdicts. Sarah embodied this mindset when her consulting business faced major disruption from industry changes. Instead of viewing this as failure, she saw it as data about market shifts that required adaptation. This perspective enabled her to pivot successfully toward digital services while competitors struggled with the transition. Your story continues writing itself through every choice and experience. Each chapter builds capabilities and wisdom that prepare you for whatever comes next. The author of your life story is always you, regardless of external circumstances. What would you write if you knew your story could continue growing indefinitely? This question opens possibilities that finite thinking cannot access. Chapter 5. Living Your Best Story. Part 1. Measuring What Matters. Understanding progress means more than watching numbers climb. Real measurement involves recognizing the small shifts in how you think, feel, and show up in the world. This approach to tracking success helps you stay motivated during challenging times while building a deeper sense of achievement. You will discover practical ways to notice meaningful changes, celebrate growth that cannot be quantified, and create your own definition of winning that aligns with what truly matters to you. Most people think measuring progress means checking off boxes or hitting specific numbers. Rachel discovered this limitation when she set a goal to exercise 5 times a week. After 3 months, she felt discouraged because she only managed 3 sessions weekly. Her spreadsheet showed failure, but her body felt stronger than ever. She slept better, had more energy, and felt confident in her own skin. The numbers told one story, but her life told another. Traditional metrics often miss the most important changes happening in your journey. When you focus only on external measures, you might overlook the internal shifts that matter most. Consider how James tracked his writing goal of finishing a novel in 1 year. He measured word count daily, becoming frustrated when some days produced only a few sentences. However, he failed to notice that his writing voice was becoming clearer, his characters more vivid, and his storytelling more compelling. The craft was improving even when the count was not. What would happen if you started measuring your emotional growth alongside your practical achievements? This question leads to a broader understanding of progress. Emma learned this lesson while pursuing her dream of opening a small bakery. Instead of focusing solely on revenue projections and customer counts, she began tracking her confidence levels, the joy she felt while creating new recipes, and the connections she was building with her community. These indicators helped her recognize that success was already happening, even before her business became profitable. Creating your own success metrics requires honest reflection about what truly matters to you. Start by asking yourself what changes would make you feel most proud after 6 months. These might include feeling more peaceful, having deeper conversations with loved ones, or approaching challenges with greater courage. Write down 3 to 5 of these meaningful indicators and check in with them regularly. The power of alternative measurements becomes clear through David's experience. As a teacher pursuing his master's degree, he initially tracked only his grades and assignment completion rates. When he expanded his measurement system to include the quality of discussions he had with students, the innovative teaching methods he tried, and the mentoring relationships he built, his sense of accomplishment grew dramatically. He realized that his professional growth extended far beyond academic performance. Consider using a simple weekly reflection practice to capture progress that numbers cannot show. Each week, write down one moment when you felt proud of yourself, one challenge you handled better than before, and one way you grew as a person. This practice helps you recognize patterns of improvement that might otherwise go unnoticed. How often do you pause to acknowledge the person you are becoming through your efforts? This reflection reveals the transformative power of pursuing goals. Lisa noticed this while training for her first marathon. Beyond tracking miles and pace, she began noticing her increased mental resilience, her ability to push through discomfort, and her growing confidence in tackling other life challenges. The race itself became less important than the strength she was building. Celebrating intangible achievements requires creativity and intentionality. When Marcus was learning to play guitar, he created a journal where he recorded not just songs mastered, but also moments of pure joy while playing, times when music helped him process emotions, and instances when he felt connected to something larger than himself. These entries became more valuable than any performance metric. The key to meaningful measurement lies in balancing quantitative and qualitative indicators. Use numbers to track concrete progress, but pair them with stories about how you are changing. Create a simple system that captures both the doing and the being aspects of your journey. Remember that your measurement system should evolve as you do. What matters most at the beginning of your journey may shift as you grow and learn. Stay flexible and adjust your indicators to reflect your current priorities and values. This adaptability ensures that your measurement system continues to serve your authentic goals rather than constraining them. Part 2. Growing with your goals. The relationship between you and your goals is much like a conversation between old friends. As you change and grow, your goals must also evolve. What seemed important at 20 might feel completely different at 30 or 50. This natural evolution is not a sign of failure or inconsistency. Instead, it represents the beautiful truth that growth changes what we value and desire. When Lisa started her career in marketing, her primary goal was climbing the corporate ladder. After 5 years of success and 2 promotions, she discovered that her definition of achievement had shifted completely. The corner office that once motivated her now felt less important than having time for creative projects and meaningful relationships. This shift happens because goals and personal growth exist in a dynamic relationship. Each achievement teaches you something new about yourself. Every challenge reveals hidden strengths or unexpected interests. As you develop new skills and gain fresh perspectives, your original goals may start to feel too small or misaligned with who you are becoming. Consider Marcus, who began running with the simple goal of finishing a 5K race. After completing several races, he discovered that running provided mental clarity and stress relief he had never experienced before. His goals naturally expanded from race times to exploring trail running, then to planning running trips in different countries. Each phase of growth opened doors to possibilities he could not have imagined when he first laced up his running shoes. The key to growing with your goals lies in maintaining flexibility while staying true to your values. Think of your goals as living documents rather than fixed contracts. Regular review and adjustment keeps them relevant to your current situation and aspirations. Set aside time monthly or quarterly to ask yourself important questions about your direction. What aspects of your current goals still excite you? Which ones feel forced or outdated? Sometimes the answer comes easily, but other times you might need to sit with uncertainty for a while. This reflection process is not about being wishy-washy or lacking commitment. It is about staying honest with yourself as you change and grow. The story of Elena illustrates this principle beautifully. She started a photography business with the goal of becoming a successful wedding photographer. After 2 years of building her skills and client base, she realized that her true passion lay in documentary photography that told important social stories. Rather than viewing this as a failure to stick with her original plan, Elena recognized it as growth. She gradually shifted her business model to align with her evolving interests and values. Creating space for new possibilities requires courage and self-compassion. You might worry about what others think when you change direction. Some people might question your commitment or suggest you are being unrealistic. Remember that only you can determine what success means for your life. How do you currently respond when your interests or priorities begin to shift? Do you fight against the change or explore where it might lead? Practical strategies can help you maintain this growth mindset while pursuing your goals. Start by viewing each goal as an experiment rather than a permanent commitment. This mental shift reduces pressure and increases your willingness to adapt when circumstances change. Document your learning along the way, noting not just what you accomplish, but also what you discover about yourself. Build regular check-ins into your routine where you honestly assess whether your goals still align with your values and interests. These conversations with yourself should feel curious rather than judgmental. You are gathering information, not putting yourself on trial. Jake used this approach when pursuing his goal of learning guitar. He started with the intention of joining a band, but after 6 months of practice, he realized he preferred the meditative aspects of solo playing over performing with others. Instead of abandoning music altogether or forcing himself toward an unwanted performance goal, Jake adjusted his focus to composing instrumental pieces for personal enjoyment. The freedom to redefine success at every stage of life is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself. Success in your 20s might mean building career momentum. In your 30s, it could involve balancing work with family responsibilities. Your 50s might bring goals around health, legacy, or new adventures. Each phase deserves its own definition of achievement. This evolution requires releasing attachment to how you thought your life would unfold. The goals you set 5 years ago were based on the information and self-knowledge you had at that time. As you gain new experiences and insights, those goals may need updating or complete replacement. When Rosa began her journey toward financial independence, her primary motivation was escaping a job she disliked. As she made progress and learned more about personal finance, her goals evolved to include teaching others about money management and eventually starting a financial literacy nonprofit. Her original goal of escape transformed into a mission of service. What would it mean for you to view your life as a continuous learning journey rather than a series of destinations to reach? Embracing this perspective transforms setbacks into learning opportunities and unexpected detours into potential new paths. When goals change or evolve, you are not starting over. You are building upon everything you have learned and experienced so far. The practice of growing with your goals also involves celebrating the person you are becoming, not just the things you are achieving. Each step forward develops your character, resilience, and self-knowledge. These intangible gains often prove more valuable than the specific outcomes you initially sought. Remember that growth is not always linear or predictable. Sometimes you will make rapid progress, while other periods might feel slow or stagnant. Both phases contribute to your development and should be honored as part of the process. Trust that each experience is preparing you for opportunities and challenges you cannot yet see. This approach to goal evolution creates a sense of excitement about the future rather than anxiety about change. When you know that your goals can grow with you, each new day brings potential for discovery and adjustment. Your journey becomes less about reaching a predetermined destination and more about staying true to yourself while remaining open to unexpected possibilities. Part 3. Sharing your journey. When you achieve something meaningful, do you keep it to yourself or share the victory with others? Many people underestimate the power of sharing their journey, viewing it as boasting or unnecessary exposure. However, connecting with others through your experiences creates a support system that accelerates progress and enriches your path. This section reveals how storytelling, community building, and vulnerability transform personal growth into collective inspiration. You will learn practical ways to share your story, build meaningful connections, and create networks that sustain long-term motivation while helping others pursue their own dreams. Sharing your journey starts with recognizing that every experience holds value for someone else. When Maya decided to learn photography at age 45, she felt embarrassed about starting so late. She practiced in private for months, convinced her beginner mistakes were too shameful to share. One day, she posted a simple photo on social media with the caption, "Day 100 of learning something new." The response surprised her. Dozens of people shared their own late start stories, and several asked for advice about picking up new hobbies. Maya discovered that sharing her beginning, not just her success, created deeper connections. Her vulnerability gave others permission to start their own journeys. Within 6 months, she had connected with a photography group that met weekly. The relationships she built became more valuable than any technical skill she learned. Her story illustrates a fundamental truth about human connection. People relate to struggles more than perfection. Consider how sharing affects your own motivation. When Carlos committed to running his first marathon, he told only his wife. After 3 weeks of training alone, his enthusiasm waned. Rainy mornings made skipping runs easy, and no one knew his schedule anyway. Recognizing this pattern, he joined an online running community and started posting weekly updates. The simple act of accountability transformed his training. People cheered his progress, shared weather running tips, and checked in when he missed posts. What changes when you know others are watching your progress? Carlos found that external encouragement filled gaps when internal motivation faltered. He also discovered unexpected benefits. His posts helped other beginners feel less alone, and experienced runners offered valuable advice. By sharing his journey, he created a support network that carried him through difficult training days. The key to effective sharing lies in authenticity rather than perfection. Rachel built a successful consulting business by documenting her transition from corporate employee to entrepreneur. Instead of waiting until she achieved success, she shared real-time challenges, failures, and small wins. Her honest updates about client rejections, cash flow worries, and imposter syndrome resonated with hundreds of people facing similar transitions. Rachel's approach demonstrates that sharing struggles creates stronger connections than showcasing only achievements. When she posted about losing a major client, 3 people offered potential projects. Her willingness to be vulnerable turned her network into active supporters rather than passive observers. This authenticity also helped her process difficulties more effectively, turning setbacks into learning opportunities. Building supportive networks requires intentional effort and genuine interest in others. Start by identifying communities aligned with your goals. Online groups, local meetups, professional associations, and hobby clubs offer different types of connection. The best networks combine shared interests with diverse perspectives. Join conversations before promoting your own journey, and offer help before asking for support. Digital platforms make sharing easier but require strategic thinking. Choose platforms where your target community gathers, whether that's professional networks, hobby forums, or social media groups. Consistency matters more than frequency. Weekly updates work better than sporadic bursts of daily posts. Focus on progress rather than perfection, and always include what you learned or how others can benefit from your experience. Remember that sharing your journey serves multiple purposes beyond personal motivation. Your story becomes a roadmap for others facing similar challenges. The entrepreneur who documents building a business helps other aspiring founders. The parent who shares balancing work and family gives other parents practical strategies. The student who discusses learning challenges creates community for fellow learners. How might your current experiences help someone else who is just starting their journey? This perspective shift transforms sharing from self-promotion into service. When you frame your story as helping others, the vulnerability becomes purpose-driven rather than ego-driven. This approach also attracts people who genuinely want to support your progress, rather than those simply consuming content. Effective sharing also involves celebrating others within your network. Acknowledge milestones, offer encouragement during difficult periods, and amplify success stories from your community. This reciprocal support strengthens relationships and creates an environment where everyone benefits from collective progress. When you invest in others' success, they naturally invest in yours. Your journey becomes richer when shared with others who understand the challenges and celebrate the victories. The connections you build while pursuing goals often outlast the goals themselves, creating lasting relationships that support future dreams and aspirations. Part 4. Becoming the author of your life. Your journey has taught you how to build habits, track progress, and connect with others who share your aspirations. Yet the most important chapter remains to be written. Every choice you make, every direction you take, and every dream you pursue creates the story of your life. This final step transforms you from someone who sets goals into someone who actively shapes their destiny. The power to write your own narrative lies entirely in your hands, waiting for you to pick up the pen and begin crafting the life you truly want to live. Every morning, Emma stared at her reflection and wondered when she became a passenger in her own life. Her job paid the bills, her routines kept her busy, and her weekends disappeared into endless scrolling. She felt like she was reading someone else's story rather than writing her own. The turning point came when her sister asked a simple question during their coffee date. If your life was a book, would you want to read it? That question changed everything. Emma realized she had been letting circumstances write her story instead of taking control of the narrative. She started small, making one intentional choice each day. She chose to walk instead of drive when possible. She chose to call friends instead of texting. She chose to try new recipes instead of ordering takeout. These small decisions gradually transformed her from a passive observer into an active creator of her own experience. The beauty of becoming your life's author lies in recognizing that you hold the pen at every moment. Unlike novels with predetermined plots, your story remains unwritten until you decide what happens next. This awareness brings both freedom and responsibility. You can change direction, introduce new characters, or completely rewrite problematic chapters. The power to edit, revise, and improve your narrative never expires. Consider how Marcus approached this concept. After years of working in accounting, he felt trapped in a career that drained his energy. Instead of accepting this as his permanent reality, he began viewing his situation as one chapter in a longer story. He asked himself what kind of protagonist he wanted to be. Did he want to be someone who accepted limitations or someone who created possibilities? Marcus started dedicating 2 hours each evening to learning photography, his forgotten passion. He didn't quit his job immediately or make dramatic changes. Instead, he began writing a new chapter while still living the current one. Within 18 months, his photography side business generated enough income to reduce his accounting hours. 2 years later, he transitioned fully into professional photography. What story do you want your future self to tell about this moment in your life? Will it be about the time you decided to take control, or the time you let fear keep you as a spectator? The answer shapes every decision that follows. Taking ownership of your story requires courage to make difficult choices. Sometimes this means saying no to opportunities that don't align with your values. Other times it means saying yes to possibilities that frighten you. The key lies in making conscious decisions rather than default ones. Lisa discovered this when she realized she had spent 5 years agreeing to every social invitation, volunteer request, and family obligation. Her calendar was full, but her life felt empty. She felt like a supporting character in everyone else's stories. The solution wasn't to become selfish, but to become selective. She learned to evaluate opportunities based on whether they moved her closer to or further from the person she wanted to become. She created a simple filter for decisions. Before agreeing to anything, she asked herself 3 questions. Does this align with my values? Does this energize or drain me? Does this help me write the story I want to tell? This framework helped her distinguish between opportunities that deserved her time and those that simply demanded it. The process of becoming your life's author involves regular reflection and revision. Just as writers edit their work, you need to periodically assess your life's direction and make adjustments. This doesn't mean constantly changing course, but rather ensuring your actions align with your evolving understanding of who you want to become. Set aside time each month to review your recent choices. Which decisions moved you toward your desired story? Which ones pulled you away? This isn't about judgment, but about learning. Every choice provides data about what works and what doesn't in your unique narrative. Ryan implemented this practice after realizing he had been living on autopilot for months. His monthly reviews revealed patterns he hadn't noticed. He was saying yes to projects that utilized his technical skills but drained his creativity. He was spending time with people who shared his interests but not his values. These insights helped him make more intentional choices moving forward. Your story becomes more compelling when you embrace both successes and setbacks as necessary plot elements. Every protagonist faces obstacles, makes mistakes, and encounters unexpected challenges. These experiences don't diminish your story. They make it real and relatable. Think about the books or movies that inspire you most. The characters you remember overcome difficulties, learn from failures, and grow through adversity. Your setbacks serve the same purpose in your personal narrative. They provide opportunities for growth, resilience, and transformation that smooth paths cannot offer. When David's restaurant failed after 2 years, he initially saw it as the end of his entrepreneurial story. Friends and family suggested he return to corporate work where he felt secure. Instead, David chose to view the failure as a crucial chapter in his business education. He analyzed what went wrong, identified lessons learned, and used those insights to design a better approach. His second venture, a food truck focusing on healthy lunch options, succeeded because he applied knowledge gained from his earlier failure. The restaurant closure wasn't the end of his story, but a turning point that led to better chapters. Living intentionally means making choices based on your values rather than external expectations. Society, family, and friends often have opinions about how your story should unfold. While their input can be valuable, the final decisions must remain yours. You are the only person who has to live with the consequences of your choices. This doesn't mean disregarding advice or feedback. It means filtering external input through your own understanding of what creates meaning and fulfillment in your life. Sometimes the path others suggest aligns perfectly with your vision. Other times it doesn't, and that's perfectly acceptable. Sarah faced this challenge when choosing between two job offers. One position offered higher pay and prestige at a large corporation. The other provided more creativity and mission alignment at a smaller nonprofit. Her parents strongly favored the corporate role, emphasizing financial security and career advancement opportunities. Sarah appreciated their concern, but realized they were writing her story based on their values and experiences. She chose the nonprofit position because it aligned with her desire to create positive social impact. The decision led to fulfilling work, meaningful relationships, and opportunities for growth that money couldn't provide. Your authentic story emerges when you stop trying to live up to other people's expectations and start honoring your own truth. This requires self-awareness, courage, and the willingness to disappoint others occasionally. The alternative is living someone else's version of your life, which ultimately satisfies no one. Creating your story involves both planning and spontaneity. While having direction and goals provides structure, remaining open to unexpected opportunities adds richness to your narrative. The best stories combine intentional choices with surprising plot twists that lead to growth and discovery. Build flexibility into your planning process. Set clear intentions for where you want to go, but remain curious about alternative routes that might emerge. Sometimes the most interesting chapters come from paths you never considered, but chose to explore when they appeared. Tom planned to spend his summer building his consulting practice. When a friend mentioned volunteer opportunities teaching English abroad, Tom initially dismissed the idea as a distraction. However, the more he thought about it, the more the opportunity aligned with his values of service and adventure. He decided to spend 6 weeks teaching in Guatemala, an experience that not only provided personal fulfillment, but also gave him insights that improved his consulting work. The key is distinguishing between opportunities that enhance your story and distractions that derail it. This requires honest self-assessment and the courage to make choices that serve your long-term vision rather than short-term impulses. Your story gains power when you share it with others. Not every detail needs to be public, but sharing your journey, challenges, and insights can inspire others to write their own compelling narratives. Your willingness to be authentic about both struggles and successes gives others permission to do the same. This sharing creates a ripple effect. When you live boldly and intentionally, you demonstrate what's possible to people in your orbit. Your choices can inspire friends, family members, and even strangers to examine their own stories and make changes that lead to greater fulfillment. Consider how you want to be remembered. What impact do you want your story to have on others? How can your choices today contribute to a legacy that extends beyond your own life? These questions help ensure your narrative creates value not just for you, but for the broader community. The time to start writing your authentic story is now. Not when you have more money, better circumstances, or fewer obligations. Every day you delay is another day spent living someone else's version of your life. The perfect moment doesn't exist, but the present moment always does. Begin with small, intentional choices that reflect your values and move you toward your vision. Choose courage over comfort, authenticity over approval, and action over analysis. Your story unfolds one choice at a time, one day at a time, one chapter at a time. The pen is in your hand, the page is blank. Your most compelling chapter begins with the next choice you make. What will you write?